Let's go. Welcome to Taub Live. We have a big show as usual because today, as usual, we have breaking law. Yes, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the DOGE team are I would call it sitting in the hot seat. What's going on today? If you are following the news, because as you know, there are many, many court cases challenging the actions of the Trump administration. And what is latest in the news from last night is that the Trump administration appears to be stonewalling Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is presiding over a case brought by the state of New Mexico against Elon Musk at all. Now, this is a case that was filed on February 13th, right, last Thursday, and it is moving quite quickly. Judge Chutkan has already held a hearing in this case, and I'm going to pull up a little more information about that in a moment. But the sort of crux of the biscuit of this case at this moment for us, before I talk even about what the charges are, I want to focus on the stonewalling, not actually responding to the information demands of the judge. But more importantly, you're not going to believe, you're not going to flipping believe what the Trump administration filed under oath about DOGE. I am referring to this as dodging or dodging the question, right? What is going on now, if you can believe it, is the Trump administration is claiming that Elon Musk does not work for DOGE, this Department of Government Efficiency. In fact, they're claiming that he is not the administrator of DOGE and that he has no decision-making authority to do anything. You might want to tell that to Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And if you don't believe me, let me share with you the actual evidence of this. So let's take a look. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cough. At the end of this court filing, which is quite short, just a few pages long, and this was signed on February 17th, and last time I checked, that was yesterday, folks. This is breaking news from last night. A guy named Joshua Fisher, who is the director of the Office of Administration, which is part of what's called the Executive Office of the President. Now, let me just back up. I need to remove this for 1 second to explain something to you. We see a building called the White House, right? And maybe you have been in it, or you have seen it on television, depicted in the West Wing, or in real life. The White House, of course, is a building, but it also is a concept, meaning the White House is that sort of central sanctum around the U.S. president. The White House itself is, not like an entity, so to speak, or it's its own entity, but it's inside of something called the Executive Office of the President. Okay. And so if you actually send an email or have an email correspondence for even someone who works directly for the president, their email address will say EOP, Executive Office of the President. So again, if you think of the Executive Office of the President, this big concept, inside of the Executive Office of the President is something called the White House. And there's also other aspects, including things like the Office of Administration. Now, I know you probably don't want a lesson in the hierarchy of how this operates, and neither do I. So let's just go directly to the breaking news here, which is this. Joshua Fisher, who works for the part of the Executive Office of the President, Donald Trump, and he is the part of the office of administration. So one part of the executive office of the president is the White House. One part is White House in quotes, right? One part meaning, Donald Trump's inner sanctum. Another part is the Office of Administration. There are other pieces. Okay, this is what appears to be a shady lie. Okay, the U.S. DOGE service. So the U.S. DOGE, remember DOGE stands for Department of Government Efficiency. Okay, the U.S. DOGE service is a component of the executive office of the president. Okay, fine. The U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization, I guess, okay, is within the U.S. DOGE Service. Okay, both are separate from the White House office. Okay, so when I talk about the White House, I should have said the White House office. So you've got the executive office of the president over everything. And then under that, you've got the White House office, and you've got the Office of Administration. And now they're saying this U.S. DOGE service is another little entity as part of that umbrella. But beneath this U.S. DOGE service is the DOGE service temporary organization. Okay, fine. They say both are separate from the White House. And now this is the thing that is laughable. It's risible. Mr. Musk is an employee. Mr. Musk is an employee in the White House office. He is not an employee of the U.S. DOGE service or of U.S. DOGE service temporary organization. And this is the funniest part. Mr. Musk is not the DOGE administrator. Oh, really? Mr. Musk is not the DOGE administrator. Okay. So someone may want to say that to Elon Musk, who in this photo was speaking to the press, as you probably know, about all the accomplishments he has made for DOGE. And, I know that they may try to say these things to a judge. But we shall see what that judge has to say about that. Now, why is this important? Well, this case, State of New Mexico versus Musk, which I told you was filed on February 13th, okay? I am going to show you, if you want to really get in the weeds here, because I think you do, a little bit about this case or tell you the key thing here. Okay, this is a lawsuit. It was filed by New Mexico, Arizona, my state here, Michigan, California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. So nominally we say New Mexico brought this lawsuit, but again, we've got New Mexico, Arizona, Michigan, California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, I'm running out of fingers, 10, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. I think I've got 14 there. So, more than a dozen states. And who are the defendants? This is the key thing about this lawsuit. Who are the defendants? It is, and this is important, Elon Musk in his official capacity. Okay? U.S. DOGE Service, U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization, and Donald Trump in his official capacity as President of the United States. Now, what the fuck, then, are they claiming Elon Musk is? They're claiming that Elon Musk, in this filing, they're claiming Elon Musk, as I said, works for the White House office. They're claiming he is merely an advisor to Donald Trump. That's what they're saying. He's an advisor to Donald Trump who can make no decisions on his own. And every single thing that he does is with Donald Trump's authority. Now, okay, sure. You actually think Donald Trump even knows the names of the people Elon Musk is bringing in? An advisor. An advisor is different from someone you are delegating authority to. So they are lying here. Elon Musk isn't just giving advice, because if you give advice to Donald Trump and you say, you make the decisions, that isn't like you could say, okay, I really want to do a lot of cutting. What do you think? And Donald Trump says, yes, cut whatever you want. Giving that much discretionary authority to Elon Musk makes him more than an advisor. And this is important for purposes of this litigation and, of course, our society, because we did not elect Elon Musk. He did not go through any kind of Senate confirmation process. And the judge is not happy about this. Now, again, I told you who the plaintiff is in the lawsuit. These are these, nearly, a little over a dozen states. And I told you who the defendants are. Okay, but you might want to know, okay, fine, what is the complaint in this lawsuit? So this is, a 64-page complaint, and so I don't want to share the whole thing with you, but I do want to share some of my screen here with you so you can actually see what I'm looking at. And you can look at this stuff too. So I am looking at the court listener website for this case. And I can go back here and I'm going to give the link. Here's the cover page of this. I'm going to go back. I'm going into StreamYard and you can follow this case today. There it is. There's the link. Okay, so I am sharing with you right now. Let's make this, I think, a little bigger. Oh, yes. Now you can see it even more. This is the lawsuit I'm talking about, where they had the cojones to claim that Elon Musk is a mere advisor to the president and doesn't work for DOGE, doesn't work for the DOGE temporary service, and certainly doesn't run them, which is a crock of horse manure. Okay, so this is a lawsuit I'm saying filed in the District of Columbia. The judge presiding over this is Tanya Chutkan. And what are they asking? They want declaratory and injunctive relief. They're not asking for money. They want a declaration about what the law is, and they want something to stop. So here's my states, right? And this is what I told you. We've got Elon Musk, and they say care of executive office of the president. Now remember, executive office of the president, no one's disputing that's over everything. But they're claiming that Elon Musk works in the channel of the executive office of the president, that is the White House office. They're saying he doesn't work for DOGE or for the DOGE temporary service. Okay, so this is a complaint for injunctive relief, and this is kind of profound, and this is the first paragraph. I will not read you the whole thing. You need to see this. There is no greater threat to democracy than the accumulation of state power, they mean government, state power in the hands of a single unelected individual. Although our constitutional system was designed to prevent the abuses of an 18th century monarch, the instruments of unchecked power are no less dangerous in the hands of a 21st century tech baron. In recent weeks, defendant Elon Musk, with President Donald J. Trump's approval, has roamed through the federal government, unraveling agencies, accessing sensitive data, and causing mass chaos and confusion for state and local governments, federal employees, and the American people. Okay, I think, friends, do you appreciate this? I am going to continue to read this, okay? Are you with me? Yeah, okay. Let's go back to this. Oblivious to the threat this poses to the nation, President Trump has delegated virtually unchecked authority to Mr. Musk without proper legal authorization from Congress and without meaningful supervision of his activities. As a result, he has transformed a minor position that was formerly responsible for managing government websites into a designated agent of chaos without limitation and in violation of the separation of powers. Okay, gets even better, and then I'm going to get to the legal part. The founders of this country fought for independence from the British monarchy, due in no small part to the king's despotic power to create an unlimited number of governmental offices and to fill those offices with the king's supporters. In fact, this practice so severely undermined the founders' freedoms that it is a listed grievance in the Declaration of Independence. Informed by that history, the framers of the Constitution crafted the Appointments Clause to protect against such tyranny in our system of government. The Appointments Clause was designed to buttress the separation of powers in two ways. First, by requiring that Congress create an office before the president can fill it. And second, by requiring that the Senate confirm a nominee to an office created by law. These limitations on the president's power make executive appointments accountable to Congress and make the Senate's confirmation decisions accountable to the people, period. Now, there's a case they cite toward this proposition from the Supreme Court from 2021. In this way, the Appointments Clause serves a vital role in curbing executive abuses of power. Mr. Musk's seemingly limitless and unchecked power to strip the government of its workforce and eliminate entire departments with the stroke of a pen or click of a mouse would have been shocking to those who won this country's independence. There is no office of the United States other than the president with the full power of the executive branch and the sweeping authority now vested in a single, unelected, and unconfirmed individual. This is unethical to the nation's entire constitutional structure. Okay, so let's get to the last part of this. Mr. Musk does not occupy an office of the United States and has not had his nomination for an office confirmed by the Senate. His officer-level actions are thus unconstitutional. This court should restore constitutional order and, consistent with the Appointments Clause, enjoin, that means stop, Mr. Musk from issuing orders to any person in the executive branch outside of DOGE and otherwise engaging in the actions of an officer of the United States, and declare that his actions to date are ultra vires. That means that he doesn't have the authority, right? Not with authority, and of no legal effect. Okay, so the bottom line is they are deciding why the court has jurisdiction, why the court can stop him, why this is a proper venue. I think that I'm going to stop sharing there for now. I have laid out for you what is going on. This is the most important lawsuit we have going on right now. And it was filed on Thursday by this dozen or so states, including Michigan, the lead state is New Mexico, including Massachusetts, Hawaii, and so on. This is critical. And Chutkan did something unusual in this case in that she already has held a hearing, right? And so what we're doing here in this case is what I want to say to you is the filing I was telling you about, where they actually tried to claim this is Joshua Fisher's declaration. This was filed last night in the case. Now we're really going through a lot of filings back and forth. And what was unusual in this case, remember it was filed on a Thursday, Judge Chutkan held a hearing yesterday on a holiday, right? So she put out an order on Sunday and said, even though it's President's Day, there was a hearing yesterday at 11 a.m. by Zoom. And as part of this hearing, this emergency motion that was filed to get this restraining order, we know that Chutkan said she would rule in 24 hours. Okay, and the other thing we know is, in addition to this total bullshit, this total absolute bullshit filing, where the White House is actually trying to claim, or where the executive office of the president is trying to claim that Elon Musk doesn't have the authority, at all. They in this situation, they are defying and refusing to actually respond to some of the key questions the judge asked. Now, the last point about this, what did the judge ask? They said, I'd like to know, Chutkan said, I'd like to know, what is DOGE planning to do? How many more agencies will be affected? How many people will be fired? And the response was, we don't know. So I find it hard to believe that Elon Musk is not in charge if there's nobody who actually knows what he is going to do next. So we need to follow this. I would expect later today, and I'll report tomorrow, we will have an answer. Will Judge Chutkan impose a restraining order? I believe she will. I believe she will. And this to me is a much more important case than the one we talked about yesterday about the head of an agency being terminated. This is everything for us. So let's keep our eye on that breaking law story. Now, friends, I'm so excited about this lawsuit, as you can tell. Now I want to talk about the thing we always talk about, which is this. The simplest step of a courageous individual is not to take part in the lie. And so tied to that, my hero of the day is Jessica Tarlov, who repeatedly goes on Fox News and tries to represent reason, tries to represent opposition to the propaganda machine that is being spewed. And the reason why I hold her in such respect today is that she got Jesse Waters to admit that Fox News is acting like a propaganda machine and that it's highly coordinated as information warfare against the rest of us. And in order for you to see this, I've got to show you a segment. I got to show you this particular segment first of Tarlov, and then I'm going to show you another one. So let's take a look at this first.
Whatever Jesse says, maybe.
I'm sorry. I'm going to show you this segment of Jesse first. Sorry, this is the point.
It's not really the same. Dana, we are waging a 21st century information warfare campaign against the left, and they are using tactics from the 1990s. They are holding tiny press conferences, tiny little rallies. They're screaming into the ether on MSNBC. This is what you call top-down command and control. You get your talking points from a newspaper, and you put it on the broadcast network, and then it disappears. What you're seeing on the right is asymmetrical. It's like grassroots guerrilla warfare. Someone says something on social media, Musk retweets it, Rogan podcasts it, Fox broadcasts it, and by the time it reaches everybody, millions of people have seen it. It's free money. And we're actually talking about expressing information. They are suppressing information.
Okay. That last part is kind of nonsense. What he's telling you is they troll or look for random things people say on Twitter, and then they repeat them, whether they're true or not. And you just heard him admit that this whole huge lie about condoms being sent to Gaza was just something he made up, that others just lied about. So here's Jessica responding to that, right like this.
Whatever Jesse says, maybe we'll find out next week that it's, as true as the condoms to Gaza. But there's real stuff and stories you could be. Oh, cool.
I did.
Okay. So he made that up. Don't bother fact checking it. It was made up.
Yeah. So she's calling him out on these lies that they just make up, that they just spread. Now, it would be funny if this weren't true. And also, no one here listening to this program is surprised at all that there's a coordinated effort to spread propaganda and lies on Fox News. People call it faux news. They've already been sued and settled for hundreds of millions of dollars for lies that they tell. So, yeah, he is an awful, slimy, gross person who you would never want to actually have a beer with. And if you do, you're watching the wrong network. But what I want to share with you is what makes Jessica a hero isn't just exposing the lie, but exposing the dangerous things that are being done by the Trump administration to kind of kill us all. And I say that in a way, I don't want you to be like, oh my God, kill us all. We're going to all die. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he doesn't it's the lies that he tells about, the California wildfires. He blames California. And then what does he do? He has Elon Musk independently ends up firing all these people who work for the federal government who are in charge of fighting fires, suppressing fires. So what she's doing is she is preemptively, I believe, and helpfully showing us how he's setting up the lie machine. And we need to spread this kind of information vastly and widely. And this is why bless Jessica for going on this show. Okay, let's listen.
You need to talk about the 3,400 people from the fire service that were fired. For instance, I mean, Donald Trump was out in California talking about how we need more people working on this, that you need to be raking the leaves. Then we're firing people. There, 57% of the land in California is run by the federal government. So you need to do that. Firing these disease detectives when we have measles outbreaks. You could talk about that. Go out to your home constituents and talk about that. The nuclear weapons workers that were fired and then they had to get rehired because that was a mistake. Or even on a day like today, and I understand that the plane flipped over in Canada, that they're firing air traffic controllers and they're showing no cause, not based on performance or conduct for doing that. They did it Friday night on Valentine's Day at 7 p.m. So
not
you talk
Valentine's
about
Day.
The best day of the year. No, but those are real stories that are affecting Americans on the ground.
All right. Okay. So we have Jessica Tarloff, and she's just one person. In contrast, we have the apparatus of the White House creating confusion and justifying the acts of Elon Musk's team. So I want to talk with you now and share with you probably the latest rumor you've heard, that the justification. Okay, so sorry, yesterday I warned you and you knew that they wanted access to the IRS computers. After that, after our show and before now, we found out that Elon Musk's team wants access to all the Social Security payment information. And the acting head of the Social Security Administration resigned because she did not want to cooperate. Now, the story Elon Musk is, in a sort of knee-jerk way, putting out is he's claiming there are millions of people, dead people, meaning people who have absconded with Social Security numbers of people who are no longer with us, and that they're getting checks, monthly checks from Social Security. Now, two things. First of all, any system like this is probably subject to fraud and abuse. And I think it's good that we weed out that. However, it is not true that there are millions of dead people or people who have presumed their name, their information, who are getting Social Security checks. Elon Musk looked at, got access to some information, and what he saw was he's so stupid, he's supposed to know about computers, or he is just so malevolent that he saw information where I think you probably know that there was a time before everything was computerized. And you probably also know that there was a time before everyone was giving a Social Security card. Okay, but at any rate, there was a time when people were given Social Security numbers and cards before there was data in the system about their birth date. So we still have information in the Social Security computers about people who have a Social Security number, and there's no a date associated with it. So it's sort of, they're saying, oh, maybe they're 150 years old. Well, obviously there is nobody alive at 150 years. It's just that we don't know the date. And so they have these buckets of people who were born, who were given a number at a certain date, and we don't know how old they are. They're not getting checks. Okay, that's not what's going on. But he's acting as if that's the case. So we had this spokesperson from the White House, and let's listen to her BS so you can kind of understand.
Set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the DOGE team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify duplicate payments and to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hard.
Okay. These are the same people when we wanted to have Congress provide more funding to the IRS so they could audit taxpayers who weren't paying their taxes, who didn't want that to happen because they thought that that auditors from the IRS and IRS agents were like the Gestapo. They didn't even want auditing, but now they want a single unelected man to have the authority with his young teenage team to hack into or access without hacking into all of our files to try to find fraud. This is totally inconsistent. And if you don't think that they're going to try to get in there and not just look at that information, but somehow shut down payments, and that would be a huge mistake. Obviously, there would be pushback, but there is ugly stuff going on with this administration. Now, I've got one more thing before I get to Crazy Town, and that is a follow-up on Tom Homan, the border czar, who yesterday we reported was saying AOC should be arrested because she's letting people know about their constitutional rights under the Fourth Amendment. And yes, I bet you know this, but not everybody does. Constitutional rights also, in most cases, extend to people who are just visiting or even here who are not documented, okay? And even shockers, constitutional rights for people who have been, arrested and put in prison even, right? Awaiting trial or even after they've been convicted. Guess what? We all have constitutional rights. We do. Now, in some cases, they change, like your right to carry a firearm. You lose some of your Second Amendment rights after being a convicted felon, right? We know that. But the Fourth Amendment right to protect you against unlawful searches and seizures applies to everybody here, including tourists or people who are undocumented or what the administration might call illegals, okay? So it's great that people know their rights because that's one of the benefits of visiting or being in America or an American. So Homan thinks AOC should be arrested. And he yesterday said she was the stupidest member of Congress. Obviously, he's upset. She's pushing his buttons when she's pushing back. So we get an interview again here. This is Fox News. And this is Stuart Varney asking Homan about concerns he has that we're hearing from families, who have family members rounded up who aren't part of gangs. And they want to put them in Gitmo or they want to put them in prison. And saying, I thought the Trump administration said they were going to go after the most dangerous people first. That's not what they did last time they were in office. Of course, they're not going to go after the most dangerous people first. They're going to go after honest, law-abiding people who cooperate because they're easiest to round up in prison. Right? Okay, and here they admitted it right here on Fox News.
The administration said the worst of the worst were the people. They were the people that's going to be held in Gitmo. But there's an article in the Washington Post this morning that says that some family members of those detained say they're being falsely branded as members of Tren de Aragua. What's your response to that, Tom?
That's the Washington Post. I mean, look, President Trump's been clear. We're going to put the worst of the worst at Gitmo. And look, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. No one's off the table. If you're in this country illegally, it's not okay. But
no one's off the table. But they didn't tell you the centerpiece were going to be the most honest people because they would be the least resistant and the most compliant. I didn't vote for these people. Ask yourself, if you know people who voted for them, ask them if they're okay with this. Because if they're not, and please don't be hostile when you speak with people whose vote you're trying to win over. We need everyone. We need everyone to protest, to vote. And on an encouraging note, there were protests in all 50 states, and you probably have seen them. I'll share some of that, some video of that with you tomorrow. Now, it is time, my friends, for Crazy Town. And this is a doozy. Can't wait. I love this music. Okay. Crazy Town. Crazy Town is Alina Habba, who was also on Fox News. And Alina Habba, what exactly does she have a real job? Oh, she's counselor to the President of the United States. Okay, that's a good job. And she went on Fox News and actually suggests that Eric Adams was indicted for not following the immigration laws. And, before I even show you her idiocy, I feel like you might want, the receipts. So because she couldn't figure this out, and it just took a quick Google, even if I know she's an attorney and she can read an indictment, but it's even easier than reading an indictment is reading a press release. And this is a press release from September of 2024, right? New York City Mayor Eric Adams charged with bribery and campaign finance offenses. Okay, and they go through that. Now, in this piece about no one is above the law, Damian Williams. So he was charged. This is a press release from the Southern District of New York about the mayor being charged in September, right? This past September. Now, before I get to Alina Habba, you should probably know that Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, is having a meeting today, and I expect she is going to force Adams to resign. Why do I say that? Well, first, the lieutenant governor has already said he should resign. Secondly, several members, deputy mayors, and members of Adams' team yesterday resigned. He cannot run his government. Okay, so hopefully this will happen quick, because as you know, we have seen what appears to be a kind of quid pro quo situation happening, a temporarily dropping of the charges against him in exchange for him deciding he will help Donald Trump with the immigration cases. Now, remember, we took several people to resign, and then finally someone did sign on the dismissal of this indictment. But that is right now before the Judge Ho. So we've got two different tracks. One, we have the governor of New York who might force Adams to resign. And at the same time, we have a federal judge reviewing the dismissal of this indictment. This is all happening right now as we speak. We'll have more news on that tomorrow. So that brings us to, and let's play it again, Crazy Town with Alina Habba. Okay, here we go.
Are you a political pawn for complying with federal immigration law?
The only political pawns that exist in the state of New York are the DAs and AGs that are literally interfering in what the president has ordered. And let's not forget something, Kaylee, you bring up a great point. This man was prosecuted because he was anti-sanctuary city policies. He wanted New York to be safe. He said, I'm going to protect the people of New York. That is the job I was given. And then all of a sudden, wow, he's prosecuted under charges and gone after. I can't imagine anybody else that's happened to. That's the crime. That is the crime. So now he comes in and he says, I'm going to cooperate and do exactly what I've been saying I wanted to do for months before they prosecuted me and persecuted me.
Okay, no, absolutely not. I mean, what an absolute liar and moron. And with that, I will remind you, this whole administration is filled with mendacious, malevolent, moronic minions. And hopefully we have Judge Tanya Chutkan today who's going to put an end to the bullshit that is Elon Musk. See you in the morning, and thanks for joining me.